every single time that I've used ChatGPT and I ask it for an answer, it gives me the best answer I could have possibly imagined, a really well-informed, contextualized answer. So the way that we search for information is about to change.
I was going to ask, what do you think Google's going to do? Do you think it's going to affect Google's business?
Google's got Lambda. From what I understand right now, Google's AI blows this current one out of the water. I feel like they've known this has been coming for a
Okay.
long time and they've been preparing.
Yeah.
What that's going to mean in terms of their advertising model, I have no idea. Because ChatGPT right now is free and it's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I play with it. It's cool.
Yeah. So what is Google going to do to compete against that? How are they going to advertise on top of an AI, search bot? I don't know. But it's going to be an interesting time, and I think we need to be nimble as entrepreneurs. And then also, what does that mean for SEO? Like all of the work that we've done, that companies are done, ranking their websites on Google's first and second page.
Well, and how do you get credit if, like for SEO, like the whole point of writing these articles and putting out this research is so someone lands on your website,
Right.
hopefully looks around, makes a purchase. Now these AIs are scraping your website and just putting it together and presenting it in a way that currently on ChatGPT, there's no credit. So
Nothing.
they're pooling research, but they're not really making citations. I'm sure you could ask what the citations were, but no one's doing that. They just went, like you said, you just go put in a question, gives you an answer, and it's a great answer. And then there's always that fear too of what if it's giving you the wrong information. And I know there were disclaimers when I signed up saying like this is in beta, they could give you the wrong information, but people are going to start typing in and asking questions and taking it as facts, and that to me is a little scary.
It is, but I think the method that they're using, like people are training it. If
Yeah.
it gives you a bad answer, you can thumbs down and tell them why. And there was a massive training phase that went into turning ChatGPT into a platform that can give you the right answer most of the time. But yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that most websites never get seen on search ever again. Why would you go searching around pages of Google when you can just get a perfect response every single time?
Unless you're looking for a business to work with. Yeah, no, if you're doing research, it seems a lot shorter. Even if college kids, I mean, right now, I'm sure that I've seen things that like you said they can tell if it's AI. I'm sure that'll be implemented eventually, but right now it's probably an open frenzy to just
Oh man.
write your paper with AI. I couldn't imagine. I mean, in college, writing was one of the things I hated the most, and you could write a 10,000 word essay in probably 3 or 4 hours.
And the value of that skill is lower now because you don't need it. You've got a robot that can do it better than I can. So why would a teacher even want you to write an essay to prove that you can write? Why would a teacher need you to write an email if you can go into ChatGPT and says, write an email about this?
Yeah.
The value of teaching and learning that skill has been obliterated within a year.
Well, it's kind of the argument too. I know a lot of people grew up without calculators and weren't allowed to use calculators through school. I'm an engineer. We weren't even allowed to use four function calculators most of the time, which was for specific reasons. Obviously, we need to understand how the code works. We need to understand how to, if it breaks, how to fix it, how to analyze it. So there's gonna be new coping mechanisms in education where maybe they make you write it live in a timed session and they have like your screens being shared or whatever that is. I'm sure that things are going to start coming out to protect, especially at university, cheating with AI.
Crazy to think about what the future of like learning is going to be now, because if you've eliminated a lot of the creativity that needs to be taught in schools, writing papers, graphic design, coding, a lot of coding right now is done using AI.
Yeah.
Crazy. What do you teach kids? What do you instill as valuable now that this robot can do what a lot of educated workers were needed for?
Yeah, it's scary. There's just so much potential with it, and no one really knows. And I'd be scared for my job a little bit, and especially coming out of college, if I had been studying different, if I can just be replaced, like even as an engineer, like they, the thing is, you replace certain parts of it, but you still need people that understand how to use it. There's always going to be opportunity.
But it scales that profession to a degree where
Right.
job placement is going to be an issue. Doctors, for example, you've got AI in family medicine that's doing diagnosis better than any doctor can. You give it symptoms, you give it some history, and it spits out an accurate diagnosis and treatment uh, a higher percentage of the time than actual doctors do. Radiology, toast. A lot of people will disagree with me, but it's scary, especially with these high level creative professions that people study their entire lives to get there. I could be threatened overnight.
No, absolutely, and that's why you need. And I love that. Part of your job is testing all these new softwares and trying. I mean, that's what you do is iterations.
I love it.
Yeah. So as entrepreneurs, as business owners, one of the advantages of still being like a small and more limber team is that we have the ability to adjust. So for us, I view this as an opportunity because we're already playing with it and looking at it. But I would say any business model that's been around for years, you need to look at these things. Like, you always need to be looking at what's coming out new, what's changing in the space. Otherwise, you can get left in the dust because we're a 3-year-old PR company and we've beat out PR companies that are 100 years old. Like, we're higher ranked, get better reviews, better trust, faster growth, and more credibility in 3 years. But that's because we're using the new tools. We're using CRMs, we're using automation, we're doing outbound, whatever that is. So we're competing, and our ability to continue to look at AI and different new tools is going to help us stay ahead. And so it's these new generations that grow up with these tools that are the ones that are scary because they're going to just come replace businesses overnight.
Right. I mean, just imagine comparing us against one of the top ranked PR firms. Maybe they have 100 writers making $100,000 and they're writing 1,000 papers, 1,000 press releases per week. And then we implement AI and they can't because they're so old, they're stuck in their ways. And we have 10 writers making 100 grand, producing the exact same quantity of press releases at a fraction of the price. We can then invest all of that money into other things that are going to support our clients. And they're going to have no way to compete against us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like newspapers. Newspapers are. I just drove by Orlando Sentinel, and it's shut down. I'm sure they still have some writers somewhere, but they were not able to innovate, and that space was so big. And what happens is a lot of them are publicly owned and publicly traded, and so they're not necessarily incentivized to change, and they have so much red tape that they're not able to change. So it's critical that anyone listening to this podcast, looks at these new tools and these new softwares and figures out, how can I implement that? If you're interested in rapid growth, you're going to have to continue to compete with your competition who's going to use these tools.